peace. Let us share in a bit of gratitude. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for all that my journey has been. And to have met myself continually throughout the parts of my life. The different evolving roles of life and the unique way that it manifests throughout all things. And I'm very grateful to be in a place that I will speak from my heart and from my spirit and my soul and all that God will reveal in these things. And that I am willing to have presence and be devoted for a path that I do not know where it leads to, or perhaps I do, and perhaps that is the great glory in it, and the difficulty in the steps. But all the same, perhaps I do not know, and that is part of the beauty as well. And I look back on my life. That is what we will do here. We will share a bit of reflection and gratitude. I look back on my life and the continual transformation and change and the things that we crawl out of and the things that we become from the willingness to go through these things. I look back, there is a moment I enjoy that I think of fairly often. I was a very young child, not even in preschool, however old you would be to enter such a thing. And I have this memory, and I'm climbing on a dirt mound, as it would be good for me. And I pick up this tree. What is to me a tree? It is some dead, perhaps it was an infant tree, something that is young and still growing. Or perhaps it was just a branch. But to me it was a mighty tree. And I pick it up on this dirt mound and I thrust it above my head and I shake it and I scream and I shout. And that is entirely the spirit that I am. And it has always been there as I was a young child. The savage that lived in the boy. And all that he would walk through in his life. And the lives that he would touch through a willingness to go through his own nature, not even knowing, not being conscious entirely of what he was doing or why he was doing it. This child would learn and grow through difficulty and through difference, through not being the same. Just as you are not the same. And in my reflection of my own being, and I'm sure perhaps you can relate to it, there is a knowing within you. There is a knowing within you that you are to do something, that you are to be someone. Perhaps not to the world, perhaps not yet, but to God, to nature, to these spirits that surround you at all times, to your ancestors, and to your loved ones, to those close to you, to any you interact with. And you go through these difficulties, and you go through these struggles of simply being. The weight of being simply being thrust upon your shoulders, and slowly becoming aware of this great consequence that I witness, that I am this, and that you are. And we grow uniquely in the way that we are. And we are blessed, and I am grateful for what is unique within me. And then my path would not be an easy one. And surely, suffering is not something to measure between one another. And surely, We have each been endowed and blessed and granted unique difficulty, struggle, and suffering. And let us be grateful for that as well. For what we will create of ourselves through it. Through all of your struggle and your strife, that you walk through that fire, that you walk through that flame. What it will mean for others. Beautiful. Something to be grateful for. And I sit now in a place of healing, of growth in myself. And that I have a comfort. And that I'm allowing of myself purpose to speak. And to be. And to embrace of myself what that may mean to you. And I look back on my life and all of the very beautiful memories. I've said it before, and I'll say it many times, I'm sure. All of the most beautiful times in my life, I had been alone. And so very often there were tears in my eyes. And it's beautiful that I look back on it so fondly. It's like I look back and I see the young man or I see the boy. And I just admire him so for what he has not met of himself yet, but what I know he will walk through. And I know what power will come through him and what effect he will have on himself and his surroundings. Because of it, not in spite of it, because of it. And I'm so very grateful for that. I'm so very grateful for that. Beautiful moments of my life, in difficulty and struggle. And I've become in this way, and perhaps I have always been in this way. Unique as our paths are. Suffering is something that I love. I love the presence that comes out of it. And that is not to say I'm a masochist. And it is not to say I am a martyr. Perhaps I would prefer to say, and be humble to this, that God has crafted and created me in this way. To find beauty in struggle and suffering. And that is so much of what our task is as human life. Is to craft the beauty within our hearts of horrible truths that we meet. And surely they will appear to us as horrible. Many truths do at first. Because perhaps there are parts of our own self, of our own being, that we recognize within these things, and we are not so happy to meet them. But that we take charge of these things, that we take ownership of them, that we accept them as one and of our own. And that is beautiful, and that is something within your life that you can take and that you can do. And I encourage you greatly. Take heart, another step forward. Walk bravely through your fire, through your struggle, through your suffering, and be the one who conquers, as you were crafted in this way. You were crafted in this way that you overcome. A hand far greater than yours, a mind beyond our comprehension, a perfect love, a perfect knowledge of your being, chose that you would have life. Consider this is one of the most beautiful things that I'm humbled to remember in my life. In everything horrible that exists within each and every one of us, evil that we should not turn away from, that has the capacity to have a home in you. that we see these things and that we take ownership of them, that we accept and embrace, that we have this capability of horrible things, that we have a capability of weakness, and that the perfect knowledge, the perfect wisdom, God within you, in all things, before you took your first breath, God knows you. God knows everything horrible about you that you may not know. God knows everything that you will do in this life outside of time, beyond such a thing. A perfect wholeness, a perfect love, a perfect wisdom, a perfect intelligence, entirely aware of you, decided with a perfect knowledge of who you are beyond your own knowing of yourself, that you are worth being, that I would like this one in creation. I will make this one, I will create this thing to be such a wholeness that I am, to be of my image, to come from this line that I am divine. And that is that you are. And so you in your lowest moment, me in my lowest moment, in my weakest, in your weakest, remember that God chose you for this. God created you for this. It is within you to conquer this, to meet it of yourself, and to conquer it, to face down fear, to be such a thing that perseveres, that walks through fire. And what it will mean for all things that you do so. It is a beautiful thing, something to be grateful for. And you can witness it in the life around you. Everything that is connected to you, what you resolve in your being, will entirely just be reflected back to you. You touch hearts, you touch minds, you touch spirits, you touch souls. Simply in presence, simply in being that you are, and what you have overcome. It is felt in places that we cannot even be consciously aware of, that others would not be consciously aware of. It is felt, the presence that you are, what you have overcome, what you have met in yourself, what you have faced. Your decision that in your weakest, in your lowest, and we all have this, whether you have met it in your life yet or not, we all have this lowest point of ourselves, this worst version of our being, this fear, this lack, this insecurity, this prevalence for wrongdoing, this desire, this lower base desire to control, to take, to harm. And nature has granted you these things as well on purpose. But you, as human life, God alive within you, you have been tasked with this, that you become a wholeness, that you have yourself fully, and that you integrate all of these things in such a way that you will bless and that you will grant a higher and further nature, a higher and further nature, and awakened being within all things. And it cannot be stopped in this way. You see, your victory, it is inevitable. My victory is inevitable. God has won already. God has won already. It is but play, and we are children. And we are blessed to be so. That we would have this opportunity to experience in this way. What a treasure. What a treasure. What a dragon to slay. What an adventure. That you may be the hero and that you may be his killer. And what a beautiful thing it is that you may die and you may die and you may die again. And it will be good for you that you rise and that you rise and that you rise again. Through that fire, through those flames that you walk through. something entirely to be grateful for. And I'm grateful for you to share in this. I'm grateful and I'm curious. And here in this place of acceptance that I have of myself, of purpose, of this creation that God has made, here that I am a man. I'm grateful for you that we share in this. I'm grateful to be a part of something in that you are. And I'm grateful that you are a part of something in that I am. You mean something to me. Whether you are new, whether I have spoken to you, whether we know each other in a personal relation, if we are strangers, or if we are familiar in a place that our eyes cannot see. I'm grateful for you. You have meaning to me. You have purpose to me. And it is a beautiful purpose. It is a glorious one. It is one to shout from the mountaintops, God, come alive. That is the purpose that you are to me. That is the purpose that I am. God, come alive, shout it from the mountains. Bring it down upon the earth. Have this heaven. Be here now. Through all that you have walked through, I'm grateful for that, and I thank you for that. And I look forward greatly to continuing into growing in this path forward together. And I'm grateful for you, for the unique steps that you take upon your path. And I'm grateful for any good that I may be to you. In all glory, God. And I'm grateful for the good that you are to me. This sign, this symbol, this transforming principle of witnessing that we are to each other. I am grateful for it. I find it as beauty. I embrace the challenge that you are, that I am in this world, that we witness. Let us make it heaven. And know that that is not beyond your capability. It is entirely your nature. It is inherent to you. It is as the sun is rising. Cannot be stopped. And every step forward you cannot go back on. That is such a beautiful thing about it. Here is your faith. You cannot go back. You cannot go back. Every moment that awareness itself becomes more, that the witness within you, the witness within me, become more alive, more conscious in all things. Every little bit that you resolve within yourself, every unique and profound revelation that comes alive within you, that is of truth, cannot be undone. And here now, as we share these things together, simply speaking it to be so, having that faith, having that belief, mountain you may move now. It cannot be stopped in this way. You yourself, I'm sure of it, have encountered moments of your being in which nothing would be the same, and that you are more for it. Perhaps you are more for what was lost in that. Perhaps further reason for us to find beauty in gratitude to life, to God, to love, to truth, that you are the one who took this step forward in finding it in your being and all others, and I unto you. And it is beautiful in this way, you see. My will is that you are great. My will is that you are great beyond my comprehension, that every single human life upon this earth has heaven and God alive within them, and that they witness it in their life uniquely, that they conquer uniquely the devils that are appointed you. That you meet yourself as a wholeness, that you accept and embrace difficult things about yourself and all that is beautiful. My will is for you to be such a great thing that I myself am witnessing the world, am alive within heaven, as this has come from you. Something to be grateful for. And it is beautiful in this way. It is profound and it is beautiful in this way. Any greatness you see in another person, you are not less for. You are not less for what is great. You are more for it. It is of you. It is yours. And let us be humble in the way that we are a created thing. That we are a created thing, and that we ourselves, in this image of God that we are created as, are creators ourselves, learning of what that means, of the consequence of being. In the way in which that you are, in the way in which that I am, touching all things. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And I'm grateful for you. And I thank you for the time, presence, and heart, spirit, and soul shared. And I'm grateful for the next step that you take. And I'm grateful. And I am humble to it, and I am accepting of it. And that we do this together. And the unique roles that God has allotted and endowed of us. This sign that we are upon each other. Beautiful love and truth. Glory, grace, strength, thanks. Grateful God, that you are courage, strength, protection. I'm with you. Peace.